Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Oinkalone. Oinkalone evolves from Lechonk, which was just released with the new Paldea event. Now the important thing is Oinkalone does have stat differences whether it's male or female. For PvP purposes, you are going to want the female as it does have better stats. I wanted to test it out and see, we have quite a few good normal types. How does Oinkalone stack up compared to the ones we already have? So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Oinkalone female in action in the Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a Great Lead Shadow Gligar into Medicham. Now Shadow Gligar does form a very nice core pairing with a lot of normal types in the Great League, including Oinkalone. Oinkalone, of course, does have access to Trailblaze, which can hit those water types that Gligar doesn't want to see, and Gligar, as we're seeing here, can handle the fighters very nicely. Medicham staying in this matchup, I'm going to wait a turn there as I go for the Aerial Ace just to ensure they're not able to catch. I'm farming up, I'm expecting the opponent to catch, so I overfarm by one, and they actually overfarm as well, and I end up losing the CMP tie. So my opponent must be running a decently attack-weighted Medicham to be able to win that CMP, but regardless, my Gligar is comfortably able to win the 2-shield. In comes Lickitung, Gligar farming up, making it to the dig, and that felt like a CMP tie. Dig will hit for some very nice chip damage onto the Lickitung, and it is the CMP tie. And now we get the battle of normal types, Lickitung versus Oinkalone. Oinkalone does, of course, have a distinct advantage, being that the tackles are hitting for neutral, whereas the licks are double resisted here. They go for the body slam. That does absolutely nothing. Oinkalone does have some pretty nice bulk to it. I overfarm quite a bit, and I'm going for the Trailblaze. This will get the KO, but importantly, it's going to make me boosted for whatever's in the back, which ends up being Diggersby. I'm farming up and firing off the Trailblaze. I'm expecting Diggersby will try and go for the Hyper Beam. I look for the switch and the catch onto Sableye, but my opponent shows great patience, holding on to their energy, and instead of catching a Hyper Beam, my Sableye is going to get hit with back-to-back Scorching Sands. But the good news is, I'm actually able to survive both of those charge moves, make it to the foul play, and a foul play into the Diggersby after taking that boosted Trailblaze will be enough to secure the win. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, Shadow Gligar into Charizard. Gligar does have the pacing advantage in this matchup, able to make it to the Aerial Ace before Charizard makes it to the Blast Burn. Charizard not the tankiest in the Great League, opponent will commit the shield. They do have enough for the Blast Burn here. I decide at the last second to respect it, but I end up shielding a bait. Opponent safe switches into Politoed. I'm going to hang on to the energy on the Gligar, and instead, in comes Oinkalone. Oinkalone will be able to withstand multiple charge moves from the Politoed. Politoed, of course, very spammy, able to spam out Weather Ball after Weather Ball. But Oinkalone, as I mentioned at the beginning, does have a pretty solid stat product. Able to withstand, it looks like, up to 3 Weather Balls, no problem. And Trailblaze will hit for super effective damage. And now the opponent has to deal with a boosted Oinkalone. They're firing off the Weather Ball. That's not going to KO. There's a little bit of lag there. And Oinkalone is able to get the farm down. Opponent sends back in the Charizard, but Charizard cannot farm down. Oinkalone makes it to the Body Slam. Boosted Body Slam gets the KO, and in the back, it is Quagsire. And Quagsire, unfortunately, has a very tough time going up against Gligar. Gligar goes for the dig. We do see the shield from the Quagsire, and Stonehenge is not going to KO here. Shadow Gligar will be able to withstand this damage, and the opponent can't Mudshot down, so they're in a very uncomfortable position where they're going to have to throw energy again, going for a Mud Bomb to get rid of the Gligar. Gligar farming up, forcing the charge move from the Quagsire, and from here, Sableye will be able to get the win. In comes the Sableye, opponent throws the charge move at the last second. We can very comfortably no shield here. Opponent ends up zero bubbling the Stone Edge, and that's a good game. We see a great lead in the next match, Shadow Gligar into Dedenne. And even better, the opponent is staying in this matchup, so it looks like there's something in the back that doesn't particularly want to see Gligar either. Opponent is going to full send the player off. That does quite a lot of damage, and now I can go for the one-shot with the dig. Dedenne, not the tankiest Pokemon, they will commit the shield. Opponent now going to save switch into Araquanid, saving some energy on Dedenne, but Araquanid will not appreciate the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace does quite a lot of damage, farming up with the Gligar, switching at the last minute into the Sableye as the opponent fires off the Bubble Beam. Bubble Beam will connect, not doing a lot of damage to the Sableye, but of course getting that ever important attack debuff. My goal now is to look to fully commit to the farm down. They can debuff me again, but I'm gonna leave with so much energy, and the opponent cannot make a third Bubble Beam. If they send in Dedenne here, I am double debuffed, but a return will still deal some pretty solid damage, as Dedenne, as I mentioned, isn't the tankiest Pokemon. Return will connect, farming up with the Sableye, going for the foul play, but losing the CMP tie. CMP does mean that Discharge will KO, but now I can send in Oinkalone. Oinkalone is farming up and going to be committing the shield here. What does the opponent have in the back? In the back, they have a Water Gun Shadow Lapras. Gotta love the spice from the opponent. I'm going to fire off the Trailblaze. That hits for super effective damage, and now my tackles are doing even more damage. I can tank a Surf, so I am going to let this through. Surf is going to connect. Oinkalone looking for the farm down, gets the farm down of the Lapras and Dedenne, and Oinkalone gets the win. Decent lead in the next match, Shadow Gligar versus Shadow Steelix. Despite the fact that Gligar does have the significant type advantage, this is a matchup that Shadow Steelix has the ability to flip thanks to how completely overpowered it is with Breaking Swipe. They're going to shield up the first charge move. I did bait Steelix's, since they have Breaking Swipe, love to shield the first move, and I will be able to make it to the Dig. Dig will hit for super effective damage here, even if it is debuffed. That does quite a lot. I'm going to send in the Sableye, and they're firing off the Breaking Swipe. I'm going to let this go. I'm now debuffed. Opponent now going to send in a Runerigus. I'm farming up. I was going to go for the foul play just before they make the Shadow Ball, but the opponent opts to instead just go for the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb will connect. I'm farming up and going for the foul play. Again, my attack has been debuffed by a Breaking Swipe, so it's not going to be enough to KO. I'm looking for the farm down, but the opponent with a sliver of HP, able to hang on and get the KO. But this will set up an energy lead for Oinkalone. Oinkalone up a shield, but in an incredibly difficult spot as there's a Medicham lurking in the back, and Oinkalone does have Tackle as a fast move, so as a comparison to another normal type, Lickitung at the very least would hit for super effective damage with Lick here, whereas with Tackle, Oinkalone is in a significantly worse spot than, for example, if I was running something like Lickitung. I'm firing off the Body Slam. Body Slam will be shielded a switch into Gligar. Gligar cannot make the Aerial Ace, and that's going to be game over here, as Steelix will be able to grab the shield with the Breaking Swipe. I will be able to tackle down the Steelix, but I cannot make a charge move before the Medicham does. Medicham will be able to get the KO onto Oinkalone with the Ice Punch. Shadow Gligar picking up some pretty nice leads today, as it now leads into Defense Deoxys. Deoxys more than likely going to be going for the Psycho Boost and Dip strategy, so that way they can deal some pretty solid damage and reset their attack debuff. Opponent is going to be sending in Greedent. Greedent with Mudshot now absurdly spammy. Dig is going to connect. I'm going to bank a little bit of energy and send in Oinkalone. Oinkalone is going to be able to withstand a bunch of Body Slams from Greedent, as we've seen. Greedent is the spammier of the two. The Mudshot Body Slam combination is ridiculous, but Oinkalone able to withstand that no problem and go for the Body Slam just before they're able to make Body Slam number 3. Body Slam is going to be lethal. Opponent will get some big farm on the Deoxys here. In comes the Deoxys. Oinkalone farming up to the last possible second and going for the Body Slam. Body Slam will deal some very solid chip damage onto Deoxys, and now I can put Sableye onto this Deoxys. Deoxys will go for the Thunderbolt. The question is, what do they have in the back? They have Frostlass in the back, and this is not necessarily what I was hoping to see. The good news is I do have a small energy lead on the Sableye, so I will be able to make it to the back-to-back foul plays, and once I get there, all I have to do is throw both, get both shields, and then a switch into the Shadow Gligar and make it to the Aerial Ace. So I will fire off foul play number 2, switch into the Gligar, opponent will fire off the Avalanche, but their switch timer is not yet up. So I can shield the Avalanche, go for the Aerial Ace, they're not able to catch it, and that should be game here, as Aerial Ace gets the KO, in comes the Deoxys. Deoxys forced to go for the Psycho Boost, but again, Psycho Boost comes at a cost, lowering their attack, and Sableye will get the farm down of the Deoxys. We see a Nightmare lead in the next match, Shadow Gligar into Greninja. Immediate save switch into Sableye, and this is incredibly bad, as this is a massive core breaker for both Gligar and the Sableye, so I'm in a lot of trouble here. Hydro Cannon deals massive damage, I build up to the return, and I'm baiting with a foul play. Greninja is very glassy, Greninjas love to shield. Opponent now sends in a Scrafty, they're running an ABA Dark strategy, and this is just, I mean, you could not pick much of a worse team to see at this moment for me. I'm going to send in the Shadow Gligar. I can tank a foul play, no problem. And then I can throw 5 wing attacks and go for the Aerial Ace before they make it to their foul play. Opponent CMP's here, but I know based on my counts that this is only enough for a power-up punch. So I will be able to let that go, and I'm very close to an Aerial Ace that I can use to threaten the Greninja. Aerial Ace will get the KO. Opponent does not want to take damage on the Greninja, so instead, they're going to send in Cresselia. I'm firing off the dig into the Cresselia. That does quite a lot of damage. Cress, farming up. In comes Greninja. I go for the Aerial Ace, but I accidentally throw on alignment, giving an entire Water Shuriken for free. And Water Shuriken is such a good fast move that is a massive error. They go for the Hydro Cannon. I commit the shield. I'm farming up with Oinkalone. Oinkalone committing the shield. This is going to be close. Do they have another charge move here? Greninja goes for another fast move, and that allows me an opportunity. Body Slam gets the KO. In comes Cresselia, and Cresselia has a lot of energy here, and they're going to need to use it to get rid of the bulky Oinkalone. They go for the Moonblast. That connects. Oinkalone able to make the Body Slam. This Body Slam is big. This potentially puts them into farm down range. Body Slam gets them low. They fire off the charge move. They are incredibly low, but then again, so is the Gligar. It's a race. Wing attack versus Psycho Cut, and on 1 HP, Gligar takes the win. We've got an opponent running some spice in the next match. Shadow Gligar into Lucario. Opponent save switches into Defense Deoxys, and this is extremely unfortunate. Last game, I was the one being hard countered, and this game, I'm the one doing the hard countering. Happens sometimes in Go Battle League. I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back foul plays. This will be lethal to the Deoxys, and I leave with energy to threaten that Lucario. Lucario, of course, is going to be resisting the moves from the Sableye, but it's extremely glassy. So now in comes Lucario. I'm able to farm up to the back-to-back foul plays as Lucario looks for the farm down. Going for foul play number 1. Opponent commits the shield. I'm going for foul play number 2. They will be able to let this through and leave with some energy. Foul play will connect. Lucario gets the farm down, but I have switch advantage and a shield advantage. So I definitely am in a pretty nice spot here. I send in the Gligar. I will respect the potential Shadow Ball as Lucario hits like an absolute truck. Shadow Ball will connect. In the back, sorry, it will be shielded. It will not connect. And in the back, there's Shadow Politoed. I know I can tank a Weather Ball here. Opponent goes for the Hail Mary Blizzard, and it still doesn't KO. My goodness, Oinkalone has some very nice bulk. My goodness. I'm farming up, making it to the boosted Body Slam. I lose CMP to the Politoed, but it's not going to matter here. I still have the full health Gligar. Gligar is in a great position to close out this game versus the Lucario. Lucario farms down Oinkalone, but Gligar is able to get the win. Hopping into the final match, we see a truly awful lead. Shadow Gligar going up against Frostlass. I save switch into Sableye. Frostlass staying in this matchup and going for the Avalanche. I'm expecting they're going to have a hard check to my Sableye, so I actually let this go, and the opponent is going to send in a Talonflame. Talonflame, not a Pokemon I've seen too often in the Great League. Foul play connects. I make it to another foul play, and this will be lethal. It should be grabbing a shield, but the opponent lets it go. They are trusting in the Frostlass, and that is incredibly bad for me because I have a Pokemon that takes double super effective damage from ice and a Pokemon that deals double resisted damage with its tackles. I'm farming up past the Trailblaze, and I'm going for the Body Slam. Body Slam will be shielded by the Frostlass. I continue to farm. Opponent in the back. They have Trevenant, and I'm going to respond with Gligar. But the Trevenant, I believe, only farms up 6 Shadow Claws here. Seed Bomb not going to be enough to threaten the Gligar. And Gligar can overfarm until just before they make their next Seed Bomb, and this will be lethal. Opponent forced to burn the final shield. Trevenant trying to close out this game, but Trevenant, unfortunately, is in too tough of a position as Aerial Ace will get the KO. Frostlass can farm down, but I have the Trailblaze loaded on Oinkalone. So they get the farm down here. They win CMP, but I saved my final shield for this exact moment. Oinkalone, despite being a normal type with a normal type fast move, will get to flip the script, KO the ghost type, and get the win. All in all, Oinkalone, the female version, is a pretty solid addition to the Open Great League. It's definitely not as good as something like Lickitung or Greedent, but I would say it's a pretty solid like B- tier normal type, And on top of that, it's a lot cheaper than Lickitung as well. So for those who don't necessarily have the XL candies or the Stardust to build a Lickitung, it's a pretty solid budget option. And I do like seeing that. Like, obviously Lickitung is going to be preferred in most situations, but if you don't have one, this is a pretty solid option, and Trailblaze's ability to boost up the tackles cannot be overstated enough. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.